Well, in Thailand, a political activist has died from cardiac arrest after more than 15 weeks of a hunger strike. 28-year-old Netiporn Sanesangkhom had been prosecuted under the lese majeste law. This is the first death of an activist since massive youth-led protests demanding political reforms broke out in 2020. CNA's Saksith reports from Bangkok.
20-year-old Netiporn Sanesangkhom, or Bung as she's known by her nickname, suffered a cardiac arrest in the early hours of Tuesday and was then rushed to hospitals, but attempts to resuscitate her were not successful and she passed away shortly before midday. She was on partial hunger strike since January, not only protesting her reincarceration after her bail was revoked by a court, but also to demand a general reform of the justice system and calling for a release of fellow political prisoners. News of her death spread very quickly on social media, with pro-democracy activists expressing shock and their condolences. But other than a candlelight vigil in the evening, no further protests have been announced as of yet. Prime Minister Saiyasombut has also been informed of this development via his justice minister, who told reporters that an autopsy and investigation will be carried out as with any death in custody. Bung's passing is a stark reminder of Thailand's draconian lese majeste law that punishes its criticism of the officially revered monarchy with up to 15 years in prison per offense. In 2020 and 21, large youth-held protests called for widespread political reforms that also targeted the monarchy, including the abolishment of the lese majeste law. According to human rights lawyers, over 260 activists are on trial and charged with the very same lese majeste law since then, facing long prison sentences. Granted, not every one of them is being held in pre-trial detention, and not every case results in a guilty verdict. But nevertheless, a lot of critics are saying that this law is problematic because it stifles freedom of expression, and also the line that constitutes what is lese majeste or not, that is a constantly moving target. This comes exactly 1 year after Thais went to the polls in democratic elections, where the Progressive Reformist Move Forward party surprisingly won the most seats. One of their campaign promises was an amendment of the lese majeste law that was being held against them, and thus they were blocked from forming a government coalition and sent back to the opposition bench. To make matters worse, they're now facing the threat of dissolution since the Constitutional Court has equated that campaign promise to reform lese majeste as tantamount to high treason. On the other hand, the ruling Pheu Thai party also championed human rights in last year's campaign, but ever since they're leading the government with their Prime Minister Saiyasombut, they're keeping their hands off the lese majeste issue. And finally, Thailand is also applying to become a member of the United Nations Human Rights Council for 2025 onwards, but the country's commitment to human rights and freedom of speech are being undercut by the lese majeste law and its handling of those affected by it. Saksith, Saiyasombut, CNA Bangkok.